We are starting with one piece of fabric that is 40 centimeters by 22. We are going to place the two short ends together, right side of fabric to right side, and this is going to be where we start. Now, I've pinned already 6 centimeters down because we want to leave an opening in the middle for our filter pocket to go in. So we're making sure that we do a reverse at each stage so that every seam is secure. If you snip as close as you can and snip off the cottons as you go, it'll make your life a lot easier further down the line. So once you've done that, you've made your opening, you've sewed the first seam together. Then you need to press that seam allowance flat, okay? Here's one I prepared earlier. Your next job is to stitch this down so that A, it helps to prevent on fraying, and B, when people are putting their filter in and out of this gap, this doesn't all unroll back on them with raw edges. You place your seam allowance under the foot, and what you're doing, if you gather up the back, can you see you've got a little hole? You're working into the hole the whole time. So slow and steady, making sure you're not catching any of the sides or back into your stitch line. Now what I do here is just turn around and go back down the other side. You could snip your cottons off, take it out, place it back in, but this is a lot easier. So that's what it looks like, and then your next stage is to press this down 5 centimeters from the join seam to what will become your top fold. So here's one I pressed earlier, so that's your 5 centimeters. Now we're going to place our elastics, and I'm going to show you how to do the side elastic. Might find it easier to just go in through the hole. Now what I'm doing is I'm tucking that elastic right along the fold line, and then I'm going to pin that in place, and I'm not going to worry about the bottom end at the moment, because what I'm going to do is sew halfway down and then position the bottom one so it will stay nice and even against the fold. So I'm going a good halfway down. I'm going to find my end. I'm going to poke my end, and can you see it's ruffling that up? That's okay, as long as it's behind the foot. I'm going to get that edge, and I'm going to place it right against that foot. Sorry, against the fold. Now, again, you can actually pin this at this stage. I'm not going to. I'm holding it in place so it doesn't move. And there you can see it is shorter than your side, but it doesn't matter. Now, the only thing you might want to do here, depending on how thick your fabric is just to take a little bit off on the corner. Don't cut into the elastic. If you cut into the elastic will potentially unravel. Okay, so then we'll do the same on the other side. Here's one I did earlier. So you can see from this, the elastics at right angles, top and bottom, both sides equal. And then I pressed that seam in, our top fold and our other side. So now we're going to start on the pleats. Now I have measured this as per the instructions, 4 centimeters, 9 centimeters, 11.5 and 16.5. So we know this is the top because we have our opening. So we're going to come on to the right side and I'm going to take where that pin is and I'm going to get that pin and match it to that pin. That's our first pleat. Very, very simple. So I'm going to pin that in. My pins will work. And then I'm going to get the next pin and go join it up to that pin. Lo and behold, how simple was that? We've made 2 pleats without trying. And you can see then, if you look from the end, they are not overlapping, okay? So what we're going to do is just sew those in place on our first side. And what we're trying to do is come downwards the way the pleats actually go so that we don't end up with too much of a problem with pleats folding back on themselves. Now, I know it's a challenge. I know people find it difficult, but sewing a top stitch close to the edge is no different to sewing any other line of stitching. It's close to the edge. If you can see, just very carefully there, I can see the gap. And that's why I know that I'm sewing straight. You can hear it's a bit mardy, but it's sewing. Okay, if it's struggling a bit, do it manually just to get it through the fabric. It's because I keep stopping. Right to the end, back. And then we go back to the top. Make sure we're nicely squared off. Now what I'm going to do, so we say about 1/2 centimetre. Personally, I say 1/2 centimetre to 1 centimetre because I like to use the side of the foot as my line of sight. So to get a nice parallel stitch line, I am going to literally run that stitch line down the side of my foot. So there's your first side done. Then we like to make it easy. So what we're going to do is roughly fold it, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it over and we're going to pin that side to that side. Pin that side to that side. We now know that our mask is vertical, is squared off and the same on each, same width. So then we are going to just look inside, make sure that pleat's matching that one, pin it. And then on this side, do the same thing again. Make sure our pleats are matching. Put a pin through. Okay, so to stitch it, I'm going to take the end two that were holding it together, take them out. So I've just said on the other side to go with the pleats. It's a bit harder to do this way, so I'm not going to. I'm going to start from the top and go. But I'm just going to show you how you make sure your pleats stay flat even though you're sewing against them. So once again, tiniest little bit of seam allowance there, so that we are as close to the edge as we dare get without falling off. Make it a little challenge. How close can you go? And then what you do is you're getting up to the pleat. Can you see it's starting to bunch back on itself? Stop, lift your foot, press it down. Just get into the pleat, whip that pin out. Keep going. We're getting a bit close to that pleat, so I'm going to whip that pin out. Just making sure we're lying nice and flat. So that's line one, and then we're going to do line two, same as before. I'm going to run it along the side of this foot. If you've done yours slightly narrower, that's okay. Just remember consistency. Can we have the same on both sides, please? Side two. Our filter opening is nicely hidden behind a pleat. So the last job to do is we know that's the top. So we're going to find the middle. How do we find the middle? Fold it in half. Stick a pin in. So we want about 11.5 to 12 inches wide for the nose wire. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark at 6. pick up a pin. So I've marked the start and the finish. Put that one out, we don't need it. Now again, I am using the side of the foot because I know that is, in fact I'm not going to, I'm going to make it a little bit further in. Okay, so that we're at about 1 centimetre there. So there's enough room for us to be able to actually get the nose wire in. Okay, so here's our finished mask. Just needs a good press. We've got even stitches running down the side. They're securing our elastic in. They're securing our pleats in. We're even on each side. Our nose wire is deep enough to actually fit the wire in. We turn it over. We've got a pocket for our filter. And if we turn it then back on itself, we will be able to feed the wire through the nose wire hole. There you go, the new 2 pleat mask.